Howdy, gang. Thank you for tuning into this Friday's edition of the Doc and Jock, aptly named Friday Short. Guys, on these Friday Shorts, we try to tackle your questions specifically from either my standpoint or Dr. Danny's. Today, you're fortunate to be hearing my voice, and you're going to get my take on improving your drop snatch by incorporating the skills of stability and balance into your training. So we're going to talk about a little bit about why. If you want more on this topic, head over to joesbarbell.com and look up the blog post. There you can actually, if you'd like to right now, head over there and you'll see the video that I'm going to reference of a gentleman that I work with remotely, Ryan, out of New Mexico. Put another state on the Joe's Barbell map. But Ryan is working through a segmented drop snatch variation. There's lots of reasons I do it that way, but you can also see different segmented snatch, segmented jerk, segmented clean variations where I utilize push to slide mats over at the Joe's Barbell YouTube page. So be sure to go over there and check that stuff out for a visual reference to what we're going to discuss today to help out your barbell technique. Whether you're a CrossFitter or weightlifter, you probably have done some form of drop snatch or snatch balance. And, there's lots of reasons to do it, and there's lots of reasons I do it. We're going to talk about some of those today. But before we do, show sponsors, guys. We love our show sponsors. Check out ShoeQ, guys. ShoeQ is new on board. We want them to know you love them as much as we do. And, guys, it's actually a product that I do use. They send it to us. I don't always run, but when I do, I put on my ShoeQ. But more than run in it, I actually have been weightlifting in it. There's an Instagram post on it, so cruise that feed so you can see why. But, guys, if you're looking for instant tactile feedback to see if you're on your heels, the ShoeQ will do it. You guys know, if you follow the post here, I'm a midfoot activating pusher, especially in weightlifting off the floor. I do not drive through the heels. I do not attack the floor through the heels when I squat, press, or weightlift at all. Maybe a little bit in the jerk, but it's more, there's reasons for that. But the ShoeQ, I don't have to get on the mats to do it. I just can put on my cue, and then I get to do what I do. So check that out, guys. Tell them Doc and Jock sent you by applying discount code JOCK, JOCK10, and you'll get 10% off your ShoeQ. So head over there and do that, guys. Also, we have Performance Sleep. You know they're awesome. I sleep on their mattress, love their mattress. And not only are they made in America, but they keep you cool. Cool in the real sense of cool, not that they're cool, awesome, but cool, keeping you cool. So check that out, guys. We love Performance Sleep Mattress. And, guys, also at docandjock.com, we have a free gift for you. Dr. Danny and I have put our heads together for the 7-day mobility overhaul. And along with the 7 days of structured mobility and stability practice, you're also going to get 2 months free at Mobility WOD Pro. Fired up gift, guys. For free, you get the value of 2 months free of Mobility WOD Pro and the Mobility 7-day overhaul. Dr. Danny and I put our heads together and put it together free. So check that out. So upward and onward, guys, to the topic of the day, the drop snatch. So first off, why call it a drop snatch? If you're working with a good coach, they should be pretty specific about what they want you to accomplish. And I think the name of the exercise does that. With Ryan here in this video, we were working on getting him low and under the bar. Ryan is a strong guy. He has a decent squat, but I can't say it's particularly functional in terms of weightlifting because he has no stability and balance. So oftentimes working a full snatch won't get him there because it's such a large motor pattern, picking something off the ground, fully extending, and then getting all the way down. Here with this drop snatch variation, this segmented drop snatch variation, we're putting him at the tippy top of the movement, full extension, and then asking him to press under. Probably a better name for this drill would be fast pressing snatch balance, something like that, because this is where we do want to utilize the arms to get down. I think a big mistake that a lot of folks make when they get into weightlifting is, you can watch, I think the quick reverser, the quickest indicator of, I think, eliteness, if that's a word, eliteness in weightlifting is the speed under the barbell, right? Our international weightlifters are some of our national level weightlifters. They look faster than other people getting under the bar, almost inhuman speed, right? A lot of the reasons they have that speed is because they're connected with the barbell and they use the barbell to pull under. This is a term we've heard, a term you should hear from any decent weightlifting coach. If they're not talking about pulling under, I would tell you to get out of the room. Height shouldn't be the only priority. In fact, you only need to get the bar so high. The real skill is pulling under, and we need to utilize the barbell to do that. So staying connected and using the bar to get down makes you faster, and you can beat gravity as opposed to just kind of dropping under the bar or jumping under. If you drop or just jump under, you'll get under, but you're going to fall at the same rate as the barbell. But if we can utilize the bar to press under, we will be faster. So that's what we're trying to do here with this drill. The other thing that we're doing in this drill that's a little different than you might not have seen it in other places is it's a segmented lift. If you notice, Ryan will flex his knees and get into a good power position. Then he stands up slowly, gets to his toes, and then pulls under. Why am I doing this? Well, I'm just trying to train his legs to understand where and when he needs to be, and also to work on the timing. And a lot of folks, when they do lifts like this, we don't practice those positions. We assume that people know how to do them, and they don't. We want to utilize the legs, so we force people to do it. So if these light loads, we force them into a power position, teach them what that is, knees over toes, generally quads fired. We stand them up slow, put them up to their toes, and one of the reasons I put you on your toes is because that's the place the legs should fully extend to. We don't need to jump very high. In fact, I wouldn't advocate jumping at all and losing connection with the ground, but I would advocate thrusting the quads with aggression. And generally when you do that, you will end up on your toes. So we train that. And this also gives us a place to practice the timing. Big mistake a lot of folks make when they're jerking or doing snatch variations or snatch practice drills like the drop snatch or your heaving snatch balance, or even your snatch grip push press in an overhead squat. What you end up doing is you will engage the arms and extend the legs at the same time. I think this is a very big mistake. We want to get in the habit of exhausting the legs first, allowing the legs to get momentum on the bar. They are bigger, stronger, faster than your arms. No matter how big and strong and fast your arms are, your legs are probably going to be a little bit bigger, faster, and stronger. But if we can exhaust the legs first fully with this full extension and then utilize the press, we're pressing with momentum on the bar. And that's a big difference rather than pressing from a stop position. And also, guys, if we can wait or hesitate to press, then when we get into a drop snatch variation like this, or a pulling under motion like the full snatch, or a press under like the jerk, we're incorporating the practice of the timing where we utilize the arms to press the body down rather than trying to drive the bar up. Again, weightlifting is not so much about getting height on the bar as it is about you getting under it. So timing is a big player in that. I always like to tell folks, especially if the lighter lifts, hesitate, delay it, have patience. A lot of people do not have that. So wait to press, and that's what we're doing here. And we're working on that pressing down. So press down, press the body under. Use the bar to get fast. And you will. I think you can do this drill. Start with an empty barbell and load it lightly, and you'll see some benefit there. So that's also what's going on, why we segment it. Now, we don't always stay with the segmented variation. Eventually, when he starts to get it, bounce look good, he can go safe. We'll start to blend and move faster and go with aggression. And even with that, one of the places I like to go is we'll blend the pause in the power position and the aggressive drive up, but I still will stop them on their toes. And this is where we get into incorporating balance into your drop snatch variation. And you can even do this with the jerk or your squat jerk or some other variations like that. But what we'll do is we'll go to a nice smooth and aggressive dip drive, but then I'll ask my athletes to pause on the toes. Why do that? Because pausing on the toes is an indicator of a balanced drive out of the power position. If we are jumping backwards, if we're falling forward, if we're moving around in circles, well, it's a sign that we're pushing and applying force in that direction. It's not good, right? It's inefficient. We want to apply all that force to upward movement of the barbell. And if we can stay put and stay paused on the toes, it's an indicator of a nice balanced push. It's a nice balanced drive out of the power position. This obviously has most carryover to your jerk. And when we're looking for skill work, guys, it should have carryover to a lot of different things or fix your specific problem. So again, this is just a quick review of why we're segmenting and the application of it. Guys, if you have more questions, you can always email Joe at Joe's Barbell, me, and I'll hook you up. But moving on to it, guys, this is that toes position is helping us practice balance. Okay, now if you also notice, Ryan here, as he goes into the drill, is losing a little bit of stability in the bottom position, which is really the reason we incorporated this drill with him. Ryan, again, mentioned it, strong guy, big squats, but he's not bringing that squat into his snatching and cleaning because he's not practicing the skill of stability and catching the bar. So again, we do that with the drop snatch variation because what I always like to tell people to do, and when I stole this cue from Chris Duffin, if you guys, and we actually talk about it on the show, go to the Doc and Jock page, look up the Chris Duffin interview, and you hear him discuss a term called Prison D. It's a drill or it's a cue he uses to activate some pelvic floor or glute activation when his lifters are finishing a deadlift, finishing a squat, stabilizing a bench press. But to me, I've taken this Prison D cue as like all hands on deck in terms of trunk stability, trunk engagement. We think of the trunk, generally, I at least did in the beginning, was we see the abdomen, right? We'll kind of pressurize the gut by making ourselves look a little like we're carrying more weight than we are. And also, guys, I see it a lot where we try and stabilize the back by overextending it, okay? And that's never a good thing. But we also forget that there is a bottom and a top to the trunk. We can get some great cueing if you're doing this right, at least on the top by just looking at the ribs. If your ribs are flaring out, no bueno. We want to push those ribs flat and down. And also, guys, glute activation is probably going to be your best way. Things like hip thrusts, glute bridges, and exercises like this are really going to help us stabilize that whole trunk. So Prison D is the cue we're using. We're trying to teach Ryan to incorporate that cue. So what we're doing here is, with the load Ryan's using, it's not a lot. To support a barbell on your back, to support 75 pounds on your back, a guy like Ryan who can squat well over 400 pounds does not need a ton of trunk activation to support that bar on his back. So what we're trying to do is getting him to relax and use the necessary force to support the barbell and save that extra gut punch or that extra strength of the trunk to catch and stabilize. So you notice the first rep, he walks forward. The second rep, his butt shoots back. The third rep in the video, he stands completely still, and outside of pushing his head through, he catches that bar super stable, super strong, super balanced, and stands right up. So what we worked in that drill was relax at the top. You only need so much force to support the bar. Maybe it's 40%, maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 60%. As weight goes up, that percentage goes up. And if we save that other 30% to that 100% contraction of the trunk to stabilize the barbell in the bottom position, the gut punch, the Prison D cue in the bottom, well, then we'll learn to stabilize and practice the skill of stabilization. This, again, has instant carryover to the full lifts. If you're working with 60 kilos in the snatch, but you have a 100-kilo snatch, we obviously can say that we can make, maybe you only need 60% of your trunk to stabilize your back enough to pick the bar up and extend. Well, that's great. You should only use that 60% in your setup, and then you want to save the remaining 40%, that 100% contraction, to receive and stand. Interesting concept, and it again speaks to efficiency. Also, guys, when you utilize a technique like this kind of save your Prison D for when you need it, and to me, that's to stabilize in the bottom of the reception. It's the most dynamic part of the lift. Well, you also end up using the legs more, and you're more connected with the barbell. So rather than, guys, when you get your empty bar work, when you're doing your light work, rather than tossing the bar around, go slower. Feel the bar more. The fact is, we're not ever going to lift heavy weights like they're light. Okay, you're not going to take, let's say your best snatch is 100 kilos. Again, you're never going to be able to snatch that 100 kilo bar like it's a 20 kilo bar. But if you end up working with the 20 kilo bar like it is the 100 kilo bar, you will get some carryover, guys. So we see this in the form of balance and stability. Guys, your practice should have carryover. Your practice should be specific, and your practice should help your full lift. So I hope this helps. I hope this isn't too over the head of some of us, or too philosophical, or even too weightlifting-ish. But I think it's an interesting topic. We got some cool questions on whenever I post these segmented or push-a-slide variations. People seem to ask questions about why, and I love talking the why. If people have other reasons for doing it, I'm always going to listen. I'm a midfoot pusher, and I like to do a lot of these skill work drills. And to me, as I've gotten older, this also makes lifting more enjoyable. You only have so much load. You only have so many sets and reps at 85, 90, 93% in you. And a lot of times those reps come at the expense of you being sore. You can't get out of bed as well the next day. Maybe you're just worn out. To me, lifting like this from the skill-based approach just makes it more enjoyable. And, example, my latest competition, I went to Savannah, Georgia, and I got second in the recent Masters Nationals for my age and weight division. But, man, that total I posted was literally 17 kilos higher than anything I had done in training in the 6 months leading up to it. And that was because I kept training pretty light, and I wanted to save it for game day. So as we're getting older, you got to be smarter. Me right now, I will say first and foremost, I'm not dedicating the time to recovery what I need to, but a lot of that is because I cannot. There's nothing I can do about a kid being sick. Got to take care of him. You want to be a good family man. To me, I'm someone right now who's really trying to find good balance in training and life. And I really think there's great carryover to incorporating some of these skills into that. So check that out, guys. Check out the blog post at joesbarbell.com. Hope this helps your weightlifting. Guys, again, review of the sponsorship here, Joe's Barbell. Well, I guess that's a show sponsor. It's my website, and I've put a lot of time and other resources into this podcast. So, yeah, Joe's Barbell is a sponsor. This is the Joe's Barbell edition of the Friday Short. Hope you enjoyed it. And also, guys, check out ShoeQ, Jock 10 for 10% off of ShoeQ, performasleep.com. We love what they're doing. Put a discount code in. See what comes up. I don't know if the Jock 75 code still works, but you can if you want $75 off. Try it. Email those guys at ShoeQ and say you want it. They might give it to you. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for telling you to do that, but it's worth it. We like you guys. We like John. John over there at Performance Sleep is a good dude. And also, guys, check out docandjock.com for your free 7-day mobility overhaul. And with that free 7-day structured mobility plan, you get 2 months free at Mobility WOD Pro. Right now, I think there is a really cool series that Diane Fu is doing on her time in China. She went over there for 2 weeks and talked to one of their big-time national-level youth weightlifting coaches, and it's pretty dynamite. So check that out. And also, guys, great place to go. If your weightlifting coach is not coaching kids, or if you're not working with a coach who's ever worked with kids, I really consider and say with honesty, you're probably not working with a great coach. All these people who claim to want to work with high-end athletes, big athletes, tough athletes, well, they probably don't have their head wrapped around the nuts and bolts. At some point, you got to cut your teeth working with kids, with old people, people who do not move right. Anyone who just works with the elite, to me, they're hiding behind something, But fired up, gang. This is Doc and Jock Podcast. This is a Friday Short, and I hope this helps to prove, one, that balance and stability are a big part of your weightlifting. Skill-based approach is great, but also, guys, to prove that if you have a body, you are an athlete. Thanks for listening.